Happy Halloween, my Winthrop family. My name is Barbie McCann, and I am an alumni from the class of 2012. I had a bachelor's degree that emphasized in theater with tech and design, and today I'm here to teach you how to do a comic book zombie with prosthetics as well as a little bit of goo. This is a little bit of gelatin slime, all right? So, quick things to talk about that I do talk about in the video, but I want to just go ahead and run over with you. The gelatin I'm using today is Jello brand and Knox brand gelatin. Both of those are pig byproducts. So if you are a vegan or vegetarian, you may want to look into seaweed-based gelatin to use for this. I have never used seaweed-based, but that gelatin is available to you. Also, if you are halal or have any other religious reasons you can't use pig-based, look into the halal products. Those are non-pig based gelatins that you can look into. Gelatin is made from dehydrated, demineralized pig bones, okay? So yeah, that's what's on here, but that's what gives us the slime. Looks like it's oozing out of these cuts that we have. I'm crying these goo tears, and I've had a little moment here as well with my last meal. So if you want to learn how to do this makeup, it's a little bit more complicated, but if you feel ambitious, if you love a challenge, if you love bright colors like I do, then let's get started, okay? Alright, so this is our video for the zombie makeup. And we're doing a little twist on the zombie today. We're doing kind of a comic book meets zombie pinup meets Miss Argentina from Beetlejuice, alright? So we're going to do a lot of fun kind of neon colors, but I'm also going to cover prosthetics with you today. Ones that you can make at home, gelatin prosthetics. So before we jump into all of that, as always, I want you to do your skincare prep. You're going to want to look at maybe using an eye cream if you're an adult, regular moisturizer that you would normally use just to get your skin nice and hydrated. And also that way, the blue makeup and the other neon colors I'm going to use today won't saturate into your skin, and then you won't have like a blue cast or a neon green or anything tomorrow if you go to work or wherever you're going back to, and so that your makeup only remains to your Halloween activities, okay? So you want to do that, and then maybe consider like a chapstick or a lip balm, something like that, to also hydrate your lips so that you're not having any issues with that either, okay? Once you've done that, make sure that your skincare dries really, really well, that it's really absorbed, that you're not tacky anywhere, and that everything's doing okay. Because with prosthetics and things like that, that extra layer of moisturizer or things like that can end up keeping you from getting a good adhesive stick from your glue, from your spirit gum, which is what I'm going to be using today. If you have oily skin, or if you have problem spots, or it feels like it's just not absorbing after about 5 to 10 minutes, you may want to hit it with a little bit of toner just to remove that little bit excess. Try to use an alcohol-free toner, okay? Alright, so I've already done those steps, so we're just going to go ahead and start jumping in. So, like I said, we're doing two more advanced techniques today. What we're going to do is prosthetics, gelatin style, so that you can do them at home. I'm going to talk you through that process a little bit, but I'm not going to show you. There are plenty of wonderful videos out there on how to make gelatin prosthetics. So what I've done for mine today is I've pre-made my prosthetic, which I'm going to show you now. It looks like a gash, a big gash, a cut like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to buy unscented, unflavored gelatin. The name brand for that is Knox, and you can find that in the baking aisle where you find your cakes, your icings, things like that, and your regular Jello brand gelatin. You can buy Knox, or you can buy off-brand if you want to go for the cheaper option. Just know that those are your choices. They sometimes come in tins with lids, or you can buy the box with 4 packets. Each packet is a tablespoon about, all right? I bought the packets because I knew I wasn't going to need to make a ton of prosthetics today, but if you're looking to invest in making prosthetics, or you know you're going to have a lot of little ones or yourselves that you're going to make a lot and go full body with this, you may want to buy the tin, all right? So once you've got that, the other thing that I did for mine is I took cotton balls. And what I did is once I've made my gelatin that I was going to mix up, you're also going to need glycerin. Glycerin, cotton balls, water from the tap, or whatever kind of water you want, just not soda water, just plain water. And whatever color you're going to use for your skin. So mine is blue, so I mixed in the blue. You can see on how to make gelatin videos how to mix in to make it the color you want it to be already, okay? And then most videos will show you to just put the gelatin in a thin layer while it's still running over your skin, okay? And then kind of tear it open and work with it that way. That is a perfectly legitimate way to do it. However, I'm showing you and talking you through how to do it beforehand on like a board or a plate, because especially if you're doing this for young ones or if you have sensitive skin like I do, a lot of times the gelatin comes out of the microwave just way too hot to work with on the skin, and you don't want to get burned, and you can get seriously burned by gelatin if you put it directly on the skin and you're not paying attention. So what I like to do is I take, much like I have shown you guys in other videos, if you've watched any of the other videos, I take a palette, which for me is a half tile, and I took some cotton balls like this, and I just started to pull them apart, right, until they get all wispy and silly like this, and then kind of pull them long like that, right? If you've got any little bits coming off, maybe twist them up a bit, right? And then I dip this into my gelatin mixture based on those videos, and I dip it a couple times, press it in with my fork or my knife, whatever I'm using to work with, palette knife, turn it over so that it's good and coated, and then I pull it out with the fork, I lay it on there, and then I put a little bit of extra gelatin around it. So actually there's 2 long pieces of cotton ball in here, and what the cotton ball does as well is it acts as kind of like rebarb in concrete and reinforces that gelatin and just makes it a little bit stronger. So also if you're going to be wearing these for a long time, you might want to consider doing it that way anyway. So once you've done that and it's cooled down, this took me a few minutes to make, then you want to test it against your own skin. If you see that you have any super smooth edges on it, you may want to go ahead and just tear at the edges till they're there, but you want to try and have as thin edges around as you can, okay? And I'm going to put mine on my cheekbone, kind of figure out where you want. If it's too big, you can also always reheat these. If the one that you made is too big or too small, or you don't like how the gash looks, you can always reheat these. Like, they tell you to heat the formula for 7 seconds, right, to make it completely runny. So for these, I'm heating them between 3 to 5 seconds at a time so that I can work with them and move them, but I'm not losing the whole shape, all right? And it's very important that you do it on a flat surface so you get a nice flat back to that, okay? And then once you're done, you're gonna wanna invest in some sort of spirit gum or adhesive. You can try using the gelatin as well while it's warm. The gelatin, while it's warm and sticky, will still stick to your skin without adhesive, just so you know. But just in case, you know, I am using spirit gum today, all right? I've got just a teeny little one, trial one for today. Now typically, spirit gum is not a contact adhesive, so you don't have to paint both sides, you just have to paint your face. I'm using Q-tips to do that today. If you're going to be using this on a lot of people, you're going to want to use a different brush for every person to keep it nice and clean. If you're only using it on one person, your glue on one person, you don't necessarily have to worry about that. So, quite a bit of space to cover. But for those of you who want extra hold, or you know your sweaters, even though this is not a contact adhesive, you may want to consider painting both. If your hair gets caught up, that's okay. You can always use hair gel to hold it back. I'm not too worried for myself, but you can always use hair gel to pull it back out of the way. The nice thing about spirit gum too is that it's water-based, so when you get in the shower at night, if you feel like you still have any on, just let it get really hot in that hot shower. All right. And then, like I said, paint the back as well. You want to leave a little bit of space. I don't know if you can see. See where it's wet? You want to leave a little bit of space for the edges because you'll do the edges last once it's on your face. So I'm doing both sides because I'm a bit of a sweater. You want to apply your appliances before you put any actual makeup on your face, because again, if you get any of that makeup between you and the appliance, you may not get a good adherence. All right. If your Q-tip starts to get nasty, as some are wont to do when they get overloaded and gross, press that on. That's good. Just set it aside and get a new one, all right? Now I'm gonna just hold that there for about 30 seconds. All right, so now it's on there pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's good. So now I'm gonna go back in and do the edges. All right. So I'm rolling under the edge and then out. And then I'm gonna use my dry side to press that in. Under the edge, out, press that in, all right? I'm gonna go back and do all of this all the way around and then I will come back, okay? All right, great job everybody. I assume if you've come back to the video, you've gotten your stuff to stick. Now, if you still have a little bit of liquidy gelatin, you're gonna have to work with it quick because it sets up fast, but if you have any rough edges, try and thin them out. Make them blend more, but you have to be quick. Because it sets up quick. Keep in mind too with gelatin, if I didn't already say, 1, gelatin is an animal byproduct, so this is neither vegan or vegetarian friendly if you don't want it on your face, okay? 2, gelatin is a pig byproduct, so if you're halal or have any other issues with eating pig or using pig on your face, then you will not want to use the Knox brand or the off-brand ones that you can find at like your Walmart or CVS or other places like that. There are halal gelatins that you can buy, and for those of you who are vegetarian or vegan and do not wish to use animal byproducts, there are seaweed gelatins as well. I have not used either of those for gelatin prosthetics before, but give them a try, practice with them, see if you like them, okay? If you're having trouble getting your glue and your prosthetic to stick, I have some troubleshooting tips for you. First of all, try using a hairdryer. If you've used too much glue, then there's a good chance that it's not going to stick right away. Spirit gum has to become tacky before it fully becomes adhesive, especially if you're going to do contact style like I just did, because I know that I sweat. You will dry both sides until it feels tacky to the touch, and then you press them onto each other. Same goes for the rolling under and out and tap, tap, tap at the edges. You're going to want to do that as well. All right, you might want to hit those with a hairdryer as well, okay? That's if you're having a hard time getting things to stick. If you're having a hard time with the roll and tap, just keep practicing. Maybe do a few on your arm first or your hand before you do your big night's makeup, okay? But I promise you with a little practice, you will get there. I was horrendous at it the first time I did it, okay? So, next thing we're gonna do is you're gonna take a pencil. I'm using a white eyebrow pencil from Ben Nye, and you're gonna draw your comic book designs. You know, if you want like a ragged mouth, or if you want like skull noses or ragged eyes or anything like that, now is the time to draw those out, okay? Keep in mind you don't want to draw straight lines. I'm going to use my mirror for this, my handy dandy little mirror. And the reason we use the white pencil is you get the shape that you want, and we don't want to put too much color of these bright colors in one place, especially when we have to go back in with our black color, which lends the graphic feeling to this when we both outline and fill in certain parts too. So, just going to go in and create shapes. And if you're looking to create organic shapes, know that there's no true straight lines in nature. And the white pencil is good because you'll be able to see where you've drawn, but it's not a whole lot of color, it's not a whole lot of makeup, and it'll fade pretty easy, better than a brown pencil or a black pencil into other makeups. However, if you're choosing to do something like this in your own skin tone and not something crazy like neon, like I've decided, you may want to use a brown or something like that. You want a pencil that's going to complement the colors you're using. All right? So now I've drawn in like a break for my mouth to look like this later, okay? And then if I want to do anything crazy around my eyes, say I'm gonna blacken out. Well, actually, and the nice thing too is you can erase pencil pretty easy by doing that. I think I'm gonna black out the eye on this side where my gash is. All right. And then two, maybe you want to draw a gash coming from out of this side of your face. Get a little one right here. We're having fun, we might as well. All right, and therefore if you've got what you want, what you think is good, call it a day. All right, so now I'm gonna go in with my foundation color, the blue, but I'm only gonna keep it in between the places I know I want to be blue and save those places that I've marked off for later, all right? What I'm gonna do is scoop out just a little bit of the colors I want onto that palette that I use. You can use a paper plate. You could probably use some really stiff paper. I don't recommend using tissue or anything like that because it's very flimsy and it's hard to work with. You want something with some stiffness to it. You can use a side salad plate kind of thing if you've got it. Now my colors for this are coming from the Makeup Forever Flash palette. Which is this set. We're gonna use this teal blue with a teeny bit of this ultramarine blue. Yeah, they call it turquoise and bright blue. So we're using the turquoise with a little bit of bright blue mixed in, just a touch, all right? Seriously, not a whole bunch. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go in and you're gonna paint all these sections like I said. Cutting in there. If you have a wide section, use a wide brush. When you get to your detail area, use smaller brushes. As you will see me do. So over here is a wide section that I'm painting. But then when I get near this detailed section, I'm switching to a different brush. So that I can fill in right up to the lines I've drawn for myself, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do my whole face and then I will be back. Okay, so now we're back. I finished painting the blue on my face. As you can see, I've tried to leave spaces for where I want the cracks to go. And all of that, because yeah, and I've also left this eyebrow unpainted because I don't want the colors to get muddled as we go through these steps. I am only focusing on my face today to teach you guys, but please keep in mind that if you're doing this for yourself, to maybe carry it down onto your neck or past the line of your costume, and to also do your ears if your ears are visible, okay? It'll just help keep that character we're creating that much more realistic, even though it's a comic book idea and even though it's a zombie. All right? Okay. So the next color I'm going to work with is going to be green. So I'm actually going to try and mix up a neon green here. Take a little bit of green cream, a little bit of yellow cream, a little bit of white, and maybe a little bit of that turquoise as well. All right. Another great thing to do when you're mixing colors and trying to figure out ideas is to look up people's photos so you can see what they've done and see if you like it. Like if you want exposed teeth, if you want to do neon colors, things like that. For me, today we're going to do half beauty makeup, half fun colors. All right. And once you get a color you like, you go from there. I didn't draw all the shapes I'm going to paint on my face today either, but you do what you're more comfortable with. If you want to draw in every little tooth and every little fissure, go for it. I, however, did not. Alright, so I'm going to add extra shapes in here. So again, I'm going to take my close-up mirror. And I'm going to paint the shapes I want in there. For me, it's going to be a little bit of a rotted gum, and I'm going to paint it just a little bit over the size that I want it to be. Because when we come back in with the black to add that graphic look to it, I'm going to paint the black over the green a little bit just to make sure that it's getting the look that I want. This makeup is all about pre-planning. The black is going to be the last color we do, okay? So it's going to look a little weird till we get there, but But don't worry, you can always go back into if you have to do a little dot here or a little swipe there of color. But you want to try and kind of pre-plan your look. If you have any blemishes like I do, I just paint over the top. Try not to pop them or do anything like that with them right before. It is easier to paint over a closed blemish, a smooth blemish. So see, it still looks very light right now, but I promise you, as we get going, things are gonna pop. Because we're gonna fill this whole section with black and outline it with black. It's gonna look gorgeous, I promise you. So I'm going around and just kind of giving this green to the edges and giving it kind of organic shapes, which we will sharpen up later, like I said, with the black. Try not to do any sharp lines, you know. That way too, it kind of feels like oozing. If you're itchy, try and tap, try not to scratch so that you don't end up moving your makeup. And another thing, when you're painting makeup around your hairline, make sure to send it into your hairline, especially if you plan on wearing a wig. I'm even going to add a little bit of this green stippled across. When I'm talking about stippling, I'm just stamping it in there randomly. Because since my openings over here have green, I want them to match over here. So around the opening, I'm stippling some of that green color onto my piece. All right. Now if you're done with your green, moving on. Next, I am going to use pink. And again, take small amounts to work with. Pardon me. This is one of those times where we're gonna have to go back in with our color. So once I get this shape the way I want it to be, there's still some spots here that are not as blue as I would like. So I'm going to go back and take my small blue brush, pick up my blue foundation, right up to that edge with that blue, just like that. So now I have a hot pink brow. I'm planning to draw teeth, so I'm giving myself some pink gum edges. Which are going to give into the rotting green color that you can see there. Same up here, I'm going to use some pink because we're going to make a section that looks kind of like brain matter. I got some exposed brain tissue right up in here. All right, looks a little funky, I know, but it will make sense as we go. All right, now for the brain tissue section, we're gonna stipple in some other colors on top of the pink. I've got some lighter pinks. And I've got white. All right. So I'm just going to take my lighter pink. I'm taking a round brush and tapping off some of the excess. And then I'm just going to tap these colors in random circular patterns on the already established color to make some of it look lighter. This one's a little sheerer than the other one. And I'm using circular tappings because, again, no organic shapes. Our brain has a very organic based shapes. And then we'll go in with some of the white. And the very light spots. All right. Now we're just going to use regular old white. Don't worry, we're not done with our brain. We'll come back to it. Like I said, this will take pre-planning. And now we're going to go in and paint, excuse me, and paint our teeth in. If you start to pick up other colors, that's okay, just wipe it off and pick up more white. See? There you go. Now that that's all done, we'll go in with our black. Here's where things can get kind of tricky, but they're also very fun. Black is what's going to define this makeup and the details. So you've got to be careful. You may want two brushes, a detail brush and a larger brush for larger areas. I'm going to start out with my detail brush. You start to define everything. You'll have to keep your brush very clean. I'm going to go through and do all the teeth, and then I will be right back. So as you go, especially with the lock, you want to consider powdering sections that you're finished with so that they don't transfer or disappear on you. I'm using a translucent powder. And I'm just pushing it in. So that my teeth don't move on me. You're going to spend so much time painting these parts, you don't want them to end up going anywhere on you. So once you're finished outlining and coloring in, you'll powder that whole section. And now we're going to go ahead and do that to all of our other sections. I'm going to hit my nose, my eye, and this piece up here, and then I'll be back to show you what I'm going to do on the brain matter after I've filled in the outside cracks and everything else. I'm also going to outline this eyebrow. Like I said, do the nose. We still have to do the lipstick, so pick your lipstick color. I am doing a more muted rosy pink based on these. I'm going to use that color for my lipstick and outline it as well with the black, okay? And then I'll be back. So now if you've caught up to me and you've done all of your black outlining and coloring in, we're going to do the brain matter up here. And literally all we're going to do is do squiggly lines, just rounded squiggly lines to give the impression of roundness. And if your black is mixing in with these colors, that's okay. Just pick up more and keep going. Some random lines. Keep everything rounded. Yep. If you have hair here like I do, you may find this a challenge to paint over. That's okay, just commit. See? Then it gives the shapes that you want. And if the black still isn't delivering the way you want it to, that's okay, just keep going over it until it punches. And the reason I've been adding dots in is comic books used to be colored by multiple dots. So I'm adding a little texture to these moments. All right, and then powder to save. Remember pressing in. smear your colors after you spend all this time getting them just right. If you're like me, you've probably begun to sweat as well. So press those powders in there, you'll be in good shape. Then we're gonna come over here to our prosthetic. Now the whole point of a prosthetic is that it does the dimensionality for you. So you shouldn't have to do a whole lot of painting on it, especially if you've intrinsically colored it like I did mine. I stippled a little bit of my makeup over the top so that it blended into the color very nicely, but it was already pretty much that color since I had mixed it in In the deepest spots, I'm gonna go in and add black, just for that depth. All right, since those are the colors that we are working with. And don't worry, we're gonna have some fun too today with some fake blood. I am gonna make some ooey gooey safe blood today as well. Don't you worry. Now if you want, you can try painting some of these lines to come cracking out the way that our paint has. I wouldn't try to mimic exactly what the paint out here is doing, but trying to follow the shapes of the actual piece and bringing some of the darkness out to give it more of that comic booky split coloring like we have on the other parts. Don't focus too much on one side, but also keep in mind that it's not going to be particularly even either. See? Now you can combine the prosthetics techniques we've showed you here on gluing this in with the ghost makeup and painting this to match your ghost makeup if you want more of a realistic zombie look. So also check out the ghost makeup video, not DVD, video that's been shared. Now that that's all done, we're gonna powder and go to the final step of this makeup, which is a little bit of beauty makeup. We're gonna have a little fun. All right, so what we're doing is what's called baking. You really don't need as much powder as you think you do, but the point is to cover everything. And since we've already done most of our colorful spots, you don't have to go over them again, but just to make sure you got where you needed to. Again, we're just pressing color in. And some of that color transfers onto your powder puff. You can also use a brush like we were using earlier. You may want a big brush. I am just triple going over everything because like I said, I'm a big sweater. Once you've done everything, you're gonna do what's called baking. You wanna take about 5 minutes and just let all this powder soak in. Make sure you get it in all the nooks and crannies. You gotta go back to using that little brush so you can get in there good. Do it. You also want to consider powdering your prosthesis. If you didn't paint it and it was intrinsically the color you needed it to be, don't worry about it. And if no one's going to touch it, although people tend to want to touch our prosthetics, don't worry about it. I'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, now if you're done baking, take a large fluffy brush and brush it all off. Now, if some things didn't go the way you wanted, or if something smears or any of that, remember you still have all your brushes with the original color on them. And you can use those to touch things up. You can also use smaller brushes to get rid of powder in places you don't want it. If you need to go back and make your blacks pop more, you can go back in with your small brush for the black cream and beep, 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 hit it up. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I am gonna do a slight beauty makeup. What I am going to do is take some pink from my lip palette. Take a brush. And I'm going to paint the other half of my lips. Now I'm also going to go in with the light. and paint these little white moments to give it that, again, comic book feel. And I'm also going to touch up some white in my teeth. And I'm going to come back in with the black. And outline my lips. This is not going to go as smoothly this time because you have that little layer of powder. So it's just going to take that little bit of extra patience. All right. So now you've outlined your lips. You can powder that if you're worried about it. And now we're going to do a slight contour and our eyes. For my contour, I'm using Juvia's palette, Warrior 3, with the light blue powder called Gola. All right. And I'm just hitting all the places on my face where I would need that contour. I'm also going to go through and do my eye. Same color to start with. And then I'm going to do the crease on my eye. The side of my nose. I'm going to take this up my eye a little bit. get down and around my waterline. All right. And if you're feeling fancy, you can do a little bit on this side as well to match. All right. Then we're gonna move to Warrior 2 palette from Juvia's. We are gonna use Walzana and Shawata. All right. Walzana is a charcoal gray with a brown base. Which is what I'm using to get this sharp cut crease initially. I have deep set eyes, so I'm closing my eyes and doing it a little bit wider. You'll need to make your own judgments based on your own eye shape, okay? Then I'm going in with Shawata, and I'm taking the Shawata in the center just to really add depth and give it that darkness. I'm giving it a little flick too to give it a little hint of a cat eye shape to my cut crease. I'm going to take Shawata right under my eye as well. Right up to that corner. I'm going to take the brush that I used for Walzana. I wipe most of it off. And I'm just going to use it to blend the edges of the Shawata into the blue. Nice blend, all right? Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take another brush for packing in. Actually, no. I'm going to take a MAC 224. I'm going to go get that Shawata. I'm going to put it on this 224. Tap off the excess. And I'm going to come over here and pop it on this. And let it just help blend the edges. Help soften the edges of this, make it more amorphous. that Schwada brush as well. Help blend those edges. Let's give it more of a ghoulish feel. Not too sharp. Helps create depth, as if you're sinking in. Only thing you want to avoid is making it too big. All right, next, I'm gonna do a little bit of eyeliner. I am using a gel MAC Black Track. Due to the shape of my eye, I'm joining my two. I have deep set, close eyes. Next, you want to do your mascara. Doesn't matter what you use, just as long as it's black. Do both sides if you need to, in case you have excess powder or something built up on this side. And then I'm going to put on some lashes. And then I will be done. I'll be right back. All right, my Winthrop family. So this is all the painting that we're gonna do. If you feel like you're ready to go, you can stop here and finish off, okay? If not, I'm gonna show you one more trick. And again, remember, this is gelatin-based slime that we're gonna use kind of like blood or goo for this makeup. If you are not able to take vegetarian, if you're vegetarian or you're vegan, you will not want to do this part. And if you are halal, you will want to look for halal products to use for this part instead. So what I've done is I've looked up a recipe for Jello Slime, and it's basically 3 ingredients. It's water, Jello, and cornstarch. And you make gooey Jello like that. I've picked lime green because I think it'll complement the makeup the best. And then you're going to take a sponge and tear it up, or you can use a cotton ball. It's probably going to be a little more messy that way. Or a spoon or a knife or whatever you have. And what we're going to do is we're going to use it almost like blood. And if you have chosen to do the zombie makeup that looks more like our ghost makeup, you would just buy blood, stage blood, and use that. Or you can use corn syrup and red food coloring. But what I'm doing is I'm taking this and I'm trying to put it inside my cut to mimic goop and blood inside my cut. Kind of oozing out and all that. Coming out of there. If this is too set up for you, I wanted something that was going to stick to my face a bit and look like it had oozed out. Then you can always melt it back down, heat it up for a little bit. This is from a recipe for edible Jello slime. And that is because I also wanted to dot it coming out of my mouth as well. So I'm going to take this . You can put it there. You want more of a actual piece coming out of your mouth. You could do it out of your nose or out of your good eye. Just a little moment like you're oozing. Here are my little zombie tears. And then she just looks a little gross, you could do one coming out of your other eye, maybe here out. You could do them coming out of your comic book things. If that's what you're feeling. That way you've got your goo, you know what I mean? Gives you more three-dimensional elements you can work into this. All right, guys? Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see your looks. Please post them. Tag Winthrop in it. Tag me in it. I would love to see them, all right? I hope you guys have a happy Halloween. Don't take these makeups too seriously. It's just supposed to be fun, okay?